Good morning, Uintah Utes. Last week I came into some classes to ask kind of a different question. Uh, by the way, thank you for all of my volunteers that volunteered, both teachers and students. Um, However, since we are talking about internet safety, we decided not to show your faces on camera, but I asked the question and I got some really great answers. So, the question I asked, what does someone who spreads child pornography look like? Which is a really weird question to ask, I admit. It's probably not something that you hear very often. I hope anyway. But we got some really amazing answers. So, some of the answers that came up were some things. One of my favorites was the mustache guy, the villain that you see in all the movies. Um, just anybody in the hallways. Could be anybody that walking down the hall. Doesn't have to be somebody who looks special. The fat guy or the big dude. That was one of the questions or one of the answers we got. Oh, the skinny nerd. That was one of my favorite. The homeless guy on the side of the street. We got just teenagers texting things that they shouldn't be texting. We got just anybody that you might see at the store or at the library, or just it could be your neighbor, anybody. Oh, we got, of course, the creepy old dude on the computer. We got some sketchy guy. This guy looked pretty sketchy to me. We had somebody who was kind of maybe dirty or didn't take care of themselves very well. We had somebody who dresses all in black or in dark clothes. We had the child pedophile, kind of that look that we all see, somebody hiding behind the computer and keeping his identity secret. Then, of course, we got just the old guy, some old dude. Um, The real truth is, it could be any of these people, but it's not specifically who we're talking about today. Those of you that said it's could be anybody in the halls, that's who we're really talking about today. And it's scary to think that anybody could be spreading child pornography. And the scariest thing about it is that you may not even realize that that's what you're doing. Um, so we as adults have taken a responsibility to make sure that we can do everything to keep you successful and safe at school. Part of that is making decisions and making good decisions. However, you can't make good decisions without good information. And this is a difficult topic to talk about, but we have to talk about difficult things in order for you to have the information you need to make difficult but very important decisions. And this is a decision that can change your life. So we want you to really understand what it is and what the consequences are. So what are we really talking about? Let's listen to this and see what you think.
A North Carolina sexting case is prompting a Wisconsin warning tonight. Even if it's teens messaging each other, it's a crime if it involves sexually explicit material, and that means pictures or videos. And only on News 3 tonight, Matthew Simon learned it can come with life-changing consequences, Matthew.
And Michelle, because Wisconsin has no specific sexting laws, teens under 18 could end up being convicted felons. This North Carolina case suddenly sparking conversations in Wisconsin living rooms, shedding light on how our current lack of a state sexting law means teens could be punished just like sexual predators. While 17-year-old North Carolina star quarterback Cormega Kopning looked sharp as he started the high school football season.
When we went through the phone We found some nude photos.
The consensual pictures the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office says they found between Kopning and his girlfriend means he's now not just suspended from the team, he's also facing felony child exploitation and child porn charges.
Apparently he and his girlfriend were sexting, is what it comes down to, and both of them were under the age of 18. They were 16 at the time.
Even if it's consensual, their ages in North Carolina make the act illegal.
The reported facts of that case occurred in Wisconsin, the end result could be the same.
Without a Wisconsin sexting law on the books, Madison criminal defense attorney David Stiegel says he's seeing teen sexting cases growing at nearly the same rate as heroin cases. Some teen clients also facing felony charges for consensual sexting.
It can be anything from a period of jail with probation, supervision while that person's in the community, or in cases of a conviction for child pornography, it can result in a prison sentence.
Also mandatory fines and having to register as a sex offender, charges and convictions that can often follow a teen for life.
Oftentimes, they are aghast at how severe it is.
Stiegel potentially facing the same consequences as sexual predators.
Teens sexting each other landed 3 boys in trouble with police. They even faced child pornography charges. And today, 2 of the boys took a plea deal, but 1 went to court. And Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Jeff Goldberg live in Fairfax tonight with what happened. Jeff?
Well, Allison, after an all-day trial, that teenager who did take this case to court was found guilty on 2 counts of unlawful filming. Both of those are felonies, but he was found acquitted of 1 count of unlawful filming and also acquitted of the more serious charge of possession and distribution of child pornography. Before delivering his decision today, the judge said, "This is an awful day. On so many levels, just a bad day." One of the boys found guilty Thursday leaves court following a case likely filled with regret. It stems from 3 videos made last year by 3 West Springfield High School students. At the time, 2 of them 16 years old, one of them 15. The videos involve 6 underage girls. One video made in the parking lot of Cardinal Forest Elementary, the other 2 in one of the boys' homes. 2 of the boys pleaded guilty to unlawful filming, a felony, but the 3rd boy fought the case. When asked about the tapes in court, the 15-year-old defendant said, "We had impaired judgment and we thought it was funny. I suppose you could call it a prank, yes." Defense attorney Rod Leffler argued both the boys and girls were involved in a culture of sex and alcohol shared on social media. "What I want to show is this kind of stuff was done by all of them." 3 girls took the stand, though, all admitting to consensual sex, some involving alcohol, but each saying they did not know they were being taped and asked not to be. The girl involved in the incident at Cardinal Forest was brought to tears during cross-examination, saying, "I thought they were messing around because I made it clear I did not want to be filmed." And no comment following the day's proceedings from any of the defendants. Now, because these videos involve minors, these boys could face up to 5 years in prison. Sentencing is set for June 12th. Live in Fairfax, Jeff Goldberg, ABC 7 News.
All right, Jeff.
North Carolina.
Oh, okay. So the question I have, and I'd like you to stop for just a minute and have a little discussion in your classes. Do you think that these students are child pornographers? Do you think that what they did is considered child pornography? Should it be considered child pornography? And then you'll notice they were talking about the state not having a specific sexting code. Does Utah have that? Do we have a specific code just for sexting? And so I want you to take just a minute, not too long because we don't have very long, but I want you to discuss this right now really quickly. Okay, so hopefully you are back and you've had a good short discussion about this. So let's talk about this. What is sexting? I know we all think we know the definition. I looked this up. Sexting is to send someone a sexually explicit digital image, video, text message, or email, typically a photo of oneself, usually by the cell phone. Or it could be the noun, a sexually explicit digital image, text message sent to someone, usually by a cell phone. What we're specifically talking about today is the explicit digital image or video or photo of oneself or of someone else that is being sent to someone. So now we have the specific definition of what we're talking about. There's another little video here that gives you a better description, I think, than just that dictionary description off the internet.
Sexting is sharing sexually suggestive content, videos, or photos using any form of electronic communication. Text messaging, instant messaging, email, social media. Sending a single sext can create a long list of problems. Digital information can last forever. That private sext is no longer private. Your classmates can see it. Your teachers can see it. Your family can see it. Sexual predators could see it. Anybody can see it. Sexting will embarrass and humiliate you. Violate school policies. It could get you expelled. Ruin your reputation. Make you a target for bullies. Unfortunately, the damage you can sustain from sexting does not stop there. Sexting is a crime. Minors who send, receive, and forward sext messages will find themselves facing criminal charges. You'll be surprised by how quickly sexting goes from a misdemeanor to a felony, which sends you to jail for more than a year. Here's our point. Sexting is simply not worth the trouble it can cause you. Play it smart from the start. Don't share photos or videos you wouldn't want others to see. Don't give in to pressure. If you receive suggestive comments or images, don't respond or forward them to anyone. Instead, speak up and tell someone, a teacher, parent, or contact the police. Stay away from websites that post suggestive comments or images. If you are directed to one, leave it immediately. Be careful with people you meet online, especially those you don't know personally. Remember, sexting is a crime. It only takes a single sext to create problems that can follow you for the rest of your life. So be smart. Don't sext. Speak up.
Okay, so when you were discussing in class, what did you think about it? Did you decide that sexting is a crime or it should be a crime? What did you think about Utah? Did you think that we have a specific sexting law? So now we know a definition, and it's important that we know a definition of what something is, because you really can't not do something until you know what it is that you need to avoid, right? So we all know it shouldn't happen, but it does. It happens more than we would like it to happen, definitely. Why does it happen? If we all know it shouldn't happen, why does it happen?
The 10th grade dance is coming up, and Maggie is really excited, especially because her boyfriend is going to be there. To get ready, Maggie and her friends go to the mall to try on dresses. They're having such a great time that Maggie decides to get some pictures of herself with her camera phone while they're all in the dressing room together. And she's thinking of sending some of the pictures to her boyfriend, along with some racy texts. This is
sexting, right? That was what it was going to go on to say. So why did Maggie send that sext? She sent it to flirt, right? That's one of the reasons that we know that teens send messages. We also know that peer pressure and to be popular. Sometimes sexts are sent because everybody is doing it, or there's the peer pressure to be popular, and that's how you can be popular, because that's everyone who's doing it. You hear that all the time. Everyone is doing it. The real truth is that studies show that on average only 1 out of 4 students sext. So not everyone is doing it. And if you are hanging out with the 1 out of 4 who's doing it, does that mean that you have to follow the crowd? That you have to do that to be popular, or peer pressure? If it is, maybe you need to make some decisions about who you're hanging out with and the choices that you're making with them. Something else, sometimes we are all like Maggie, and we make decisions on impulse. And they are often those decisions that will come back to haunt us. in the end. Again, something else that happens, unfortunately. Being impulsive is part of being a teenager, and learning to think before you act and consider the consequences is part of growing up. Part of that also is making the choice to use drugs or alcohol. And let's face it, under the influence of drugs and alcohol, we all make some of the dumbest decisions of our lives. We do things we would never do sober. So remember that these decisions really can come back to haunt you. So it's important that you take the time to think about these things before you do them and make that decision of what am I doing and what's going to happen next, or what could happen next. So there are other reasons that people sext. Let's see about this.
You know I'm sneaking out. It's too early. Are you kidding? 9 o'clock the party. 9:15. 9:15.
I heard it was 2 a.m. Check this out.
Yo, what up?
Whoa! Oh man! Yo, send that to me real quick. I'm not gonna. Come on, send that to me.
Man, you a pimp.
Okay, so why did this girl send out the text? This is probably, I would say, one of the biggest reasons. To express love, or to express your feelings about someone. Often you're in a relationship with someone, and this is something that you're asked to do, and because you care about this person and because you trust this person, you accept. The other thought that is out there again, and it's totally scary, is that sexting is safer than sex. However, all of the studies show us that those people that are sexting are engaging in sexual activity at least a year sooner than those that are not sexting. So it's like playing with fire. You are eventually going to get burned. So you just need to stay away from it. Feelings of love and lust can be very intense, almost like being under the influence. It's difficult to slow down and think about the consequences of your actions in those situations. However, it's not impossible. You can do it. You just have to make that decision before it ever comes up. This is a great thing to talk about in your relationship. If you're dating someone, then you should be able to be talking about this, and you should be able to say, you know what, that's not going to happen. One of the other reasons, curiosity, and I don't know if you guys are old enough to hear that the saying, what is it? Curiosity kills the cat, and that really happens. So you never know what is going to happen, but it's not going to be good. The other one, I think, the last reason, I'm sure there are others, but the last reason that due to research is an online predator. And it's perhaps the scariest. Online predators soliciting intimate images on the internet. And that is such a scary thing, because the internet is such an easy place for people to hide their true intentions. Another part of being a teenager is learning about the good and the bad in the world. And unfortunately, internet predators and sexual predators know that, and they know exactly how to prey on that.
Meeting a teen girl online is actually pretty easy. You can go into any chat room and just start talking. Most of the girls are usually so insecure and desperate for
Attention from older guys is totally flattering. They're so much more mature and understanding than the guys my
Age actually works to my advantage. They like to brag to their friends that they're dating an older guy, so I just play along and pretend I'm really
interested in the same things I am. You can talk forever and really get to know someone without worrying about looks or whatever. That's the best thing about
Chatting seems unthreatening to them, so they lower their guard. After a while, I start talking about how we're soulmates and how lucky we are to have found each other.
Other people don't understand. I know what I'm doing. If you really care about each other, there's nothing wrong with me.
Meeting them is the goal.
So I'm going to stop it here because this goes on to talk about meeting, and that of course is very important, but that's not what we're talking about right now. This is that point where he says that he gets you to trust him, and then after that he asks, and that's the point where they're going to start talking about, in chat room, they're going to start talking about sex, and they're going to start asking for those pictures, and that's your clue that there's something wrong. So we know why, we know what it is, we know why we make those choices. So it's important to know the consequences before you make the choices. And let's be honest, sometimes nothing happens. You can send that sext and your partner keeps your trust and doesn't send it out. However, it's like rolling the dice. You can only do it for so long before you lose. And there is going to be a time when you roll that dice and you lose and the text is shared. And remember, intentions don't matter. Your intentions when you send that text doesn't matter. It's like if I intend to give you $1 million, but I don't give you the $1 million, it doesn't matter if I intended for you to have it. You still can't take that imaginary money that I intended to give you to go buy your Ferrari. It's just gone. Your intentions don't matter when you push that send button. It's out of your hands at that point. Sexting can ruin your name and reputation, school, work, and future, social consequences like bullying and shaming, legal consequences, your reputation and your name, things you haven't even thought about.
Welcome to the Google Online Safety Roadshow.
We're here to teach you a few things you need to know so you can stay safe online
and enjoy all of the fun things that the web has to offer.
Think before you share! The web connects us all
and allows us to share in ways we have never before been able to.
Whether through social media posts, comments,
or even videos.
We can reach friends near and far with just a click.
But what you share on the web and who you share it with can end up saying a lot about you.
And can become a part of your life story. You can't control information once it's out there in the world.
What you post or send can easily be forwarded, copied, or found by other internet users.
Including strangers.
Or people you know who aren't necessarily your friends.
Other people's impressions of you can change based on what you share.
And posting inappropriate information can have negative consequences you may not have considered. That can mean impacting your place on the soccer team, summer job opportunities,
or even one day, what college you go to.
The internet is an awesome tool for having fun and making new friends. But with great power comes great responsibility.
So use your power for good. You can just as easily lose friends as make them, based on how you manage your reputation online.
So don't forget
to think before you share.
All right, so think before you share. Ruined your reputation, your name, things in the future you haven't even thought about. That job 3 or 4 years down the line that the boss looks up Googles your name, and what is he going to find? Social consequences, I think this is the one we think about the most, but that broken trust and revenge porn. Broken trust equals broken relationships, and broken relationships often lead to revenge porn. Although we would love to think that all relationships will last or end in friendships, that doesn't happen, especially when we're young. Relationships often are short, and sometimes they don't end well. And when those images are out there, you are vulnerable to bullying and shaming. And we all have seen examples of this, and we all know how incredibly damaging this can be for someone. So remember that once it's out there, it's out there and you can't do anything about it. And once that trust is broken, you can't do anything about that either. The one now, does Utah have a specific sexting law? No, we don't. However, we do have some things in our laws that are talk about youth and being under 18. But let's talk about Utah Code, sexual exploitation of a minor. A person is guilty of sexual exploitation of a minor if you knowingly produce, possess, or possess with intent to distribute child pornography. Child pornography is anything under 18. So you say, I didn't make it, it just ended up on my phone. If you intentionally distribute or view child pornography, you are also guilty of it. So it ends up on your phone, you open it up, you are guilty of sexual exploitation of a minor. Could be a second-degree felony, and that can be multiplied depending on how many minors are in the video or how many times the same minor is in a different video or picture. How about this one? Giving explicit material to a minor. This one, you are guilty of dealing in harmful material to minors when you knowingly or believing that a person is a minor or having negligently failed to determine the proper age of the minor. If you distribute, offer to distribute, produce, perform, or direct, or participates in any performance that is harmful to the minor. You say, I didn't know she was only 14, or I didn't know he was only 15. You have been negligent of determining the proper age. So it doesn't matter if you didn't know it. It was your responsibility to find out how old that person is you're sending those pictures to. Distributing porn, fun. Any material or performance is pornographic if the average person would look at it and think that it's porn or think that it's offensive. And if you're 18 or older, you can face a third-degree felony. If you're 16 to 17, a Class A misdemeanor. If you're under 16 years old, a Class B misdemeanor. But again, remember, every time that you open that or send it, it becomes multiplied. Just for fun, we're going to throw this in since we're talking about great things. Utah Code for Forcible Sexual Abuse. If you are touching anybody in any way that they do not give you permission to do, specifically if you touch another person's body, like their butt or their breast or their crotch, this is considered forcible sexual abuse. If you do not have permission, you're walking down the hall, you grab somebody's butt, you have just committed forcible sexual abuse and you can be charged for it. So make sure that you are being very, very careful about all these things. Consequences can be very, very serious. You can have delinquency charges, detention, house arrest, community service and enforced counseling, fines of a lot of money, not to mention lawyer fees, no contact with the victims or other sanctions as ordered by the court. That no contact with the victim, who is your victim? Often your victim is your girlfriend or your boyfriend in the eyes of the court, and so you could be court ordered to have nothing to do with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Let's talk about this one. Digital permanence. What does permanent mean? Do you think he wants to have Santa Claus on his arm forever? Look at this. This is really scary. I'm going to warn you about it. It's super scary. Look, see these images? 1989 rocks forever, you guys. Some of these images you might recognize as your parents. I did a search. I graduated in 1989. That's over 30 years ago, guys. We didn't even have the internet. Oh, I'm going to stop this for a minute. We didn't even have the internet. And yet, look what I found on YouTube. Do you think these guys, these are all grown-up men now, businessmen, they're very responsible. Do you think that they knew that this was going to be on the internet? I want you to check out the knees here, guys. This is severely embarrassing for people. 30 More than 30 years ago, this was a talent show right here. I was the first class to graduate from Uintah High School. I started here as a 10th grader. And this would have been within a year or two of that. Did you think that anybody would think that would be on the internet 30 years ago? No way, but I found it. Let's talk about Snapchat. Can Snapchat be permanent, or those other social media apps that you think are not permanent? How many of you out there have taken a screenshot? Or how many of you out there have videoed something with another phone? Snapchat and all those things are not permanent. If you send it, it's out of your hands and it is permanent. So we all screw up one time or another. It happens. We all make bad mistakes. What do? We try to get the image back. Or we contact the websites where it was posted to have it removed. I will have information for that for you in the counseling office if you want to come in and get that. If you're being harassed or threatened with the image, you absolutely need to go to a trusted adult as soon as possible. Parents, families, counselors, administrators, teachers, our resource officer. Remember, though, this is an example of someone being hurt or someone hurting you. So we will absolutely have to report it. But along with that, we will also be doing everything we can to help you out of the situation. And really, the best defense is a good offense.
This is a line, and this line is mine. You will kindly find my feet and my spine are perfectly aligned. You'll also find that on either side is a plus and a minus sign. Right now I'm on this line, minus this, now I'm on line. This is a line, and this line is mine. You will kindly find my feet and spine are on the plus side. Now I'd like to assign and also define what one might find on this side of the line. I will not pretend that there are no consequences of saying something offensive online, no matter what my ignorant friend says. Because words are all I have, and yeah, I know it's sad. We hide behind the mask of the latest social networking fad. So there's respect in my status, whether through Mark Zuckerberg or Tom, and I'll treat you the same in person, and yeah, I'll accept your friend request, Mom. This is a line, and this line is mine. You will kindly find my feet and my spine are on the minus sign. Now I'd like to assign and also define what one might find on this side of the line. Now I might seem unassuming, but if you only knew what I was doing, brewing, spewing, spitting venom when I'm at that screen, I ruin. Reputations I will splatter. Typing faster, I get madder. All the insults I will gather. You're so lucky, it's only sadder. Day. You have one day. Oh yes, Sunday, for my words to die away. And on that one day, oh, I must say, you're going to wish you had a different name. But then it's Monday, and at school, I'll remind them all of what I said. Then it's Tuesday, and then it's Wednesday, and then we'll all find out you're dead. This is a line, and this line is mine. And now that I've assigned what one might find on either side, you will kindly find that my feet and my spine are on the plus sign. And I'm not moving. Where are you?
Isn't that powerful? So I'm going to skip past this, but well, we used to say don't post or say anything that you wouldn't want your grandma to see. But I've met some of your grandmas, and they're pretty rockin'. So I want you instead to think about this. I want you to think about this. Instead of don't post something you don't want your grandma to see, don't post something you wouldn't want hung up in the comments. Do you want a red poster of that pic that you sent to your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Do you want a big poster of that text that you sent out? Would you want to see that up? If you don't want to see it up in bright bold letters in the comments, don't send it, because it's going to be just the same when it's spread out throughout the school. Remember that it could be this choice. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day today and make good choices.